we'll start with this. On the heels of his decision win over Jose Benavidez, Charlo says, "I'll fight Janibek, Adames, if the circumstances are right. I never ducked nobody."
I don't think he fights either of those guys because I don't think Charlo is going to return to the middleweight division, making him still being a middleweight champion a complete farce.
It is.
And a waste of time.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely love to step up to, get right back in a banger, Charlo said, I'll fight the Janibeks and I'll fight the mandatory, Carlos Adames. Shout out to them guys for making it to number one, They did what they had to do. I'm definitely the type of fighter to give him a chance. I never dodged nobody. I never ducked nobody. If the circumstances are right, you will see me in there with him. I'm not here to, hold no belt or do nothing strange. Shout out to the WBC, They understood my situation. They understood my problem. They know I'm a real champ in the division, and I love them for understanding me. And we're gonna put up, the belt as soon as we fight. Like the next fight, the belt will be on the line.
Those are empty promises. This guy hasn't made 160 pounds in close to 3 years. I don't think he's about to do it now.
He continued, "If it's at 160, that's where it's going. If I've got to go to 168, I'll go to 168 and fight for this interim belt that David Benavidez just won or he just defended tonight. I'm down for whatever. I'm not really a matchmaker. I'm not the person that puts me in these positions. I'm happy to be here and I'll fight my way through it. But if it comes to that time and I fight Adames, and I'm pretty sure the mandatory is going to come to the point where I have to fight Adames and I have to fight Janibek to become undisputed or unify the division at 160.
Did you catch that? Do you see what he said? He said, "I'm not really a matchmaker. I'm not the person that puts me in these positions."
That essentially means is he's not really the one who decides who he's going to fight next. Thus, any promises that he's making are empty promises. Ultimately, whoever Charlo ends up fighting next, that will be decided by someone else. And I don't think it's going to be Adames or Janibek.
It's not up to him. What he says doesn't matter.
The sky's the limit right now, Charlo said. I have a championship at 160, right? I'm going to get right back into camp. I'm not taking no days off. I'm going to be training Monday, so I'm going to get right back on it. I'm going to get myself, a little bit of time with the family. We're going to sort it out. I'm going to talk to WBC President Mauricio Suleiman about the WBC and the things that I need to do. But 68 is hot, David Benavidez just won against Demetrius. Will be a great fight. I saw Caleb Plant in the crowd. That'll be a good fight. I know there's some competition at 168. I could easily make 168, but the sky's the limit right now. I'm just gonna go let God do what he does, and he's gonna put me in the right path of where I need to be, and we just need to keep going, man. Our legacy is our legacy. WBC interim champion Carlos Adames caught wind of these comments and responded by saying, "Maul, I bet you don't dare to fight me March 2024. You only talk so fans think you are back. I dare you to call Heyman with interest in fighting me. Stop lying to the fans that believe in you. Your team knows where the danger signs are." No, I don't think Charlo is going to fight his mandatory challenger, Carlos Adames. I'd sooner expect Jamal to eventually relinquish the WBC title, at which point it might go to Carlos Adames, who would then defend it against Jermal's brother, Jermel, whenever he comes back, because I don't think he's going back to 154 any more than I think Jermal is going back to 160.
Whether it's a Carlos Adames fight or a unification match with Janibek Alamkanalai, I don't see any of that happening in spite of what Charlo is saying.
He's mentally unstable and he's recovering from whatever it is he's recovering from outside of the ring, and he just went the distance with Jose Benavidez, who was knocked out by Terrence Crawford. That's saying you couldn't put away the same guy that Terrence knocked out. And I don't want to hear about the layoff, because before that, you couldn't put away Juan Macias Montiel. Munguia knocked him out. Adames knocked him out. You couldn't.
I see a fighter in Charlo that, in spite of being a quote-unquote unbeaten champion, he's a bit of a money pit. What's the return on doing a Charlo fight? Who's excited about this guy's career?
You often hear me say here on the channel that there's no such thing as a free lunch, that everything costs something. So what does it cost to do a Jermall Charlo fight? And what exactly does a promoter, what exactly does a platform get back for having done it? It seems to me that Jermall Charlo can be classified as dead weight. Nobody's excited about you, and there aren't actually that many fights you could be in that fans would be excited about. What you are and what you seem like in this day and age is cannon fodder for any fighter with a pulse, any fighter with
Anyone really with an iota of ability, an iota of ambition, which he greatly lacks.
just thinking about these fighters under the PBC banner that are little more than dead weight. 2 of the 4 major titles in the men's middleweight division are on the PBC side of things. Thus, it's no coincidence that the middleweight division ain't as exciting as it used to be. When 2 of the belts are on that side and they're not doing nothing with them, they're supposed to be scheduling a fight between Lara and Danny Garcia. But you tell me, who's actually interested in that?
It was supposed to happen this year, but they decided to push it back to next year.
More dead weight and entitled fighters who want to get paid like their draws when they can't draw flies to shit.
What seems to me like a waste of resources, scheduling fights for these fighters that have no momentum and no traction in their careers, no real direction, who are in their mid-30s. The stable's gone stale.
Entire crop of fighters that they funneled over from Golden Boy Promotions over to the PBC upon PBC's inception. The milk's gone bad.
That's it.
That's the story as it pertains to the middleweights. As far as super middleweight in this past weekend's big box office fight that really wasn't that big at all, an estimated 60,000 pay-per-view buys, or a little under 60,000 pay-per-view buys for David Benavidez, who's supposed to be the new kid on the block that's not so new to the super middleweight division. He's been there as long as I can remember, and the PBC and Al Heyman have yet to turn him into a big box office draw. For all the arguments you see in the YouTube boxing community and on boxing Twitter, all those discussions,
All of it.
disagreements, and conversations, these numbers accent just how insulated that community is, because you would think that David is a much, much bigger
You think he's a much bigger star than he actually is based on the frequency of arguments day in, day out. What it really is the same people arguing with the same people. A very vocal minority of individuals who are very high on David Benavidez.
in tandem with a substrata of individuals who just want to see Canelo lose, and they'll support whatever guy is the next guy. And I say it's a vocal minority because the people over there at Fight Hub 3 days ago conducted a poll, a sample-size poll of approximately 154,000 individuals and counting, and 68% of them feel that Canelo Alvarez would win the fight with David. Only 32%. 32.
I told you it's a vocal minority. Don't let how vocal they are fool you.
Surely, if David Benavidez really were the monster that he's made out to be, he would have convinced more people by now. He's been campaigning at this weight long before Canelo Alvarez ever got there.
A lot of people are still unconvinced.
Approximately 68% of this sample-sized poll of over 100,000 participants. And what it really is that in spite of David doing what he did against Caleb Plant and doing what he did this past weekend against Demetrius Andrade, these guys don't pose the same challenges as Canelo Alvarez, the challenges he would pose. And if you're paying attention, for as long as David Benavidez has been campaigning at this weight, he has yet to fight a puncher.
This very vocal minority of David Benavidez fans are adamant and they want to be heard. They want to argue without listening to the opposing argument. You can look good against Caleb Plant and you can look good against Demetrius Andrade, but none of them are Canelo Alvarez. Canelo's fought guys that are bigger than he is before. He's fought punchers before, whereas David...
They see him go in there with the likes of Demetrius Andrade. They see him dispatch him in just 6 rounds, and they tell themselves, this is what he's going to do to Canelo. When Demetrius, he's Canelo's polar opposite in every way you can imagine. Where Canelo is a short and stumpy fighter, a stocky fighter, Demetrius is long and limber. Where Canelo is an orthodox fighter, Demetrius is a southpaw. And where Canelo Alvarez has fought some of the best, if not the best fighters, from 150, 160, 168, and 175, Demetrius...
I meant 154. 154 up to 175.
Demetrius Demetrius had no signature wins, no solid victories anywhere from 154 up to 168, so that as soon as he steps up in class, he's like a deer in the headlights. He doesn't know what to do, and many of the punches that David Benavidez landed.
Demetrius is not a puncher, and he never was. You can get off your shots with no fear of what's gonna come back at you, because whatever does, there's not that much on it anyway.
But you can't get all willy-nilly with your punches and your combinations against Canelo, because he's a counterpuncher, a strong one, and I vaguely recall Dimitri Bivol saying that Canelo actually hits harder than David Benavidez, his old sparring partner.
Gauging their power, Dimitri Bivol determined that Canelo Alvarez is actually the stronger puncher. David Benavidez, he's no Dimitri Bivol. He's not as cerebral.
And those are the kinds of fighters that really give Canelo issues. Cerebral fighters, not artillery guys like David Benavidez. And David, what you're talking about is a very statuesque, mid-range to inside fighter that's got long arms. Mid-range to inside, the shorter, stumpier fighter with the shorter arms is actually the one that has the advantage, because those short arms allow him to put punches together faster than the taller, lankier guy. And David, being as aggressive as he is,
and opening up as much as he does in the phone booth, who has he fought that could have given him something to think about?
can open up as much as you like against guys like Caleb and Demetrius, because they can't punch. At least they can't punch like Canelo can punch. And I can hear the Benavidez supporters now typing into their phones and laptops, disagreeing with what I'm saying under the comments of this video. But what are you saying? That Caleb punches as hard as Canelo? That Demetrius?
You're just angry that more people don't agree with you, that more people don't feel how you feel. But David beating up Demetrius Andrade, who's the polar opposite of Canelo, that's not gonna change my mind.
Because David has been at this weight so long, I don't imagine it's getting easier to make. He himself knows that. So how's he gonna receive those punches when the time comes?
I've still got Canelo winning that fight. Apparently, so do most people.
In men's heavyweight news, an interesting tidbit from WBO interim champion Zhang. Apparently, there were talks for Zhang to face Francis Ngannou in December, but Francis didn't want to do it.
In today's era of clout chasers and clout demons, Zhang doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to use anybody's name to get clout, to achieve clout.
There were originally talks to have me fight Ngannou on December 23rd, and I was like, okay, it's a walk in the park for me, I'll take it. But Ngannou didn't want to do it, and then it's what you see. The big names starting to come in like Joshua filling the card, and that's what happened, Zhang told the Daily Mail. Zhang is willing to take on all comers, as most of the top names are all tied up. Former two-time champion Anthony Joshua is facing Otto Wallin on December 23rd as part of the same show. Former champions Deontay Wilder and Joseph Parker will collide. In truth, I would have liked to have seen Zhang on that show, perhaps more than Frankie Sanchez versus Junior Fa, or Philippe Hrgovic versus Mark Demori. I mean, Mark Demori of all people. This guy still boxes?
Yeah.
He's still around?
Yeah. I would have preferred to see Zhang in a match than those aforementioned fights, just to keep the momentum going. You know, Zhang isn't the youngest guy. He's no spring chicken. He's got to use the time that he has while he still has ability.
I believe everyone is busy with their schedule, but I'm someone that whoever you put in front of me, I'll fight. It's up to my team, Zhang said. I think it's coming. A big fight in China the coming year. People will see something like that. People behind the scenes are working very hard every day to try and push this, and I believe in 2024 we will see a high-level world title fight. Everyone is invited in the coming year. The expectation is that both the remaining champions at this weight, Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, will lock horns with each other for all the marbles, all the belts. The issue is that may end up being a two-fight engagement, as there's a two-way rematch clause involved.
So I don't know if Zhang will get to fight for a title in the coming year, but that doesn't have to stop him from having a big fight in China.
I have a strong feeling that something big is coming, and I want everyone to stay tuned. If you're watching my fight, I'm not going to let you down. It can't be a Joshua fight, I don't think, because Anthony Joshua, if he makes it past Otto Wallin, and if Wilder makes it past Joseph Parker, they're supposed to be fighting each other in the coming year. So maybe the big fight that Zhang can have is a fight with someone else, since it's long been speculated that there is a lot of money to be made in China. China has its fair share of millionaires and billionaires that could bankroll a big show for Zhilei Zhang. So maybe he can fight the winner of Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller, especially if it's Jarrell Miller.
The other big names at the weight, Wilder, Joshua, Fury, Usyk, they're all supposed to be tied up next year, but Jarrell, if he beats Daniel, racks up a big win.
Maybe Zhang can fight him. Zhilei Zhang, who's indicating it was supposed to be him and Francis Ngannou this upcoming December, but the Ngannou people, they didn't want to do it. And going into a Zhang fight, Francis Ngannou would not have the element of surprise the way he had it ahead of the Fury fight. People didn't know what to expect. They figured this is just another MMA guy that don't know nothing about boxing, so it should be an easy night's work, and it was anything but. Though now that there's footage of him available for Zhang and his team to research and review and get a fix on, he wouldn't have that element of surprise. Moreover, I think Zhang's backhand is a lot stronger than Tyson Fury's.
Too many people read too much into Fury's fights with Deontay Wilder, a fighter with two left feet, poor balance, poor coordination,
poor cardio, and not much of a work rate, relying on a single punch every single round to win the fight.
And if you've been following this channel long enough, you will have heard me say more than once that I think Wilder is chinny. I think he doesn't take the best punch. This guy almost got knocked out by Harold Sconeers. Most people don't know that, so when Fury goes in there and does what Fury did to him, people are under the impression that all of a sudden, Fury is this huge puncher.
But Tyson Fury, since having done what he did to Deontay Wilder, has yet to duplicate that dominance, that kind of a performance. That's saying he hasn't been anywhere near as come forward or aggressive with anyone else other than Wilder, and that includes Francis Ngannou, a novice. So I don't actually think Fury is all that big a puncher, and I don't think he's a bigger puncher than Zhilei Zhang. That would be a different gravy for Francis Ngannou.
I think Zhilei Zhang would hurt him. I think he'd knock him out, which would reflect quite poorly on Tyson Fury, since he's supposed to be the premier heavyweight.
I think Francis would find that there's a lot more kung pao on Zhilei Zhang's backhand than he just felt on Tyson Fury's. And even though he did better than expected against Fury, and even though the WBC has gone as far as giving him a rank, I'm not sure Francis is going to do much boxing next year. Isn't he supposed to be debuting in the PFL in the coming year?
Might have dodged a bullet. I think Zhang would have knocked him out.